living with my ruthless ex-husband. Chapter 12, Gary. I'm tapping my shoes on the floor while waiting at the lobby area of Hargreaves Legal Company. It's a private law firm that has the most brilliant lawyer in the country. I have an appointment with attorney Hargreaves. He's one of the most accomplished lawyers in the Philippines, and he's my last resort. I needed help to recover the land my father owned but illegally obtained from Santos, a wealthy family in Cagayan. They claimed that they bought the land from my father in a fair deal, but I doubt that. My father loved that land. It's the only property that was left to him by my grandparents. That's why I know that he will never sell that. My memory about the land that we used to live in was very vague since I'm still young at that time. I even forgot about it until recently. I found a letter from my father from his belongings that my Auntie Agnes ordered me to throw away. It's been hours and I haven't seen even the slightest hair of that infamous lawyer. I'm just trying my luck here, hoping that Mr. Hargreaves would find it in his heart to help me. I heard about his charity works on helping those who are in need of legal advice but have no money to pay for a lawyer. Ms. Montana, Mr. Hargreaves is now ready to see you. The receptionist called my name. I immediately put on my sweetest smile and say my thank you to the receptionist. I knocked on the door 3 times before turning the knob. Good afternoon, Mr. Hargreaves, I greeted warmly. I was expecting an old man to welcome me, but my smile faded when I saw a gorgeous man in a 3-piece suit. He had short thick hair that was styled and brushed up messily. His broad shoulder and masculine body matched his gigantic height of 6 feet 1 inches. His dark green eyes and thick lashes matched with thick eyebrows can melt any woman who stares at. His mouth almost forms a straight line from barely smiling. He has a very distinct light beard, and a defined jawline makes him more attractive. This is not the attorney Hargreaves that I was expecting. Everything becomes clear when I read the attorney Lucas Sebastian Hargreaves on the metal plate desk that was on top of his table. He must be the younger Hargreaves. He frowned when he saw me standing at the door not making any move. He raised his eyebrow at me, then leaned his back in the backrest of his swivel chair before crossing his hands in front of his mouth. Are you going to stand there at my door or are you going to come in? He coldly said. My feet quickly moved to get inside his office before closing the door. I'm not sure why I suddenly felt suffocated by the presence of this gorgeous man in front of me. What do you need? He said while staring at me. I suddenly felt conscious about my look. I might look like a beggar when placed beside him. I cleared my throat before answering him. I need your help regarding my father's land, I said while looking at my hand. I can't look at his eyes for too long. I felt like I'm melting with how he looked at me. Look at me? I heard him say. What? I confusedly asked him after lifting my head to look at him. You need to learn how to look into a person's eyes when you are talking to them, he said while leaning towards me. I gulped when I smell his minty breath and his distinctive manly scent that screams sex. Why am I thinking about sex? Get a hold of yourself, Gary. I need your help regarding my father's land, I repeated, but this time I was looking directly into his eyes, which caused me to stutter. What's your name again? He asked before shifting his gaze through the papers that I gave the receptionist a while ago. That's all the documents that I had regarding the land that my father owned, and I believed was illegally obtained by the Santos. I'm Margaret Sophia Montana. You can call me Gary. I introduced myself, trying to build rapport. Such a manly nickname for a sweet woman like you, he commented. My cheeks burned like a wildfire with just a simple compliment. What the heck is happening to me? I feel like a teenager talking to her crush for the first time. Well, here's the summary of fees that you need to prepare the next time we meet. I'll call you after I studied your case, he said before he looked back on the papers on his table. I reached for the papers that he was holding out to me and read what's in there. Every word that I read makes my eyes widen. 20,000 pesos for retainer's fee. I explained upon reading the summary of fees that the firm is charging me if they are going to handle my case. What happened to free consultancy and free lawyers? I confusedly asked him. Oh, you might be referring to my father. He's the one doing the charity works, he said while leaning on his chair, looking cocky. Unfortunately for you, he already retired. I was the one who's managing the firm now. I almost wanted to rip the smirk out his arrogant face, but I need his help. This is my last resort to claim my father's land back. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath before swallowing all the pride that I have. Can't you do this for one last time? I desperately asked him. I watched his every move as he stood up from his chair and slowly walked towards me. I could feel his presence behind my back, and I gasped for air when I felt whispered in my ear. And what's in it for me? He seductively whispers. I pressed my eyes tightly before I spoke. What do you want? I nervously answered. I don't have the money to pay for his services, and I'm not really sure what I could offer him so he would accept this case. I want, he slowly whispers, hanging every word for suspenseful effect. Nothing from you, he said before moving away from and walking back to his table. If you're thinking of offering your body, I'm not interested. I can have that in just a snap, he arrogantly said. I felt like my blood escaped from his body out of shame. I can't believe that I really think about that idea just so I could have him as my lawyer. Am I that desperate? I would never do that, I denied. I don't want to lose my face even more. Aren't you lawyers have this pro bono thing? I asked him desperately on how to have him agree with me. As I said, I'm not doing charity work. If you want you could ask my father, he said sarcastically. Can you give me his number? I asked him, not having any idea that he was actually being sarcastic about it. You are really something, Ms. Montana. But like I said, we don't do charity. You can leave now, he coldly said. What? Wait, we're not done yet. I was frantic. I have a meeting with a very important client. I don't have time for this. Karen, he said, pressing the intercom to probably call his secretary. Please escort Ms. Montana out of my office, he said over the intercom. Wait, no, you have to help me. I desperately shouted at him. I was shocked when two uniformed men barged inside the office and forcefully dragged me out of his office. I will see you, I shouted at the two security guards that escorted me out of the office. I'm not the type of person who easily gives up. I will never stop until I have that man as my lawyer. I waited for another 3 hours outside the building after the security escorted me out. I'm not going to give up easily. I need to do any possible way to have him work on my case. I don't have that kind of money to pay for him. My salary from the fast food that I'm working on wouldn't even cover his consultation fee, much more his retainer's fee. I need to convince him to do this for free. If the older Hargreaves were here I wouldn't have any problem now. I read a lot about his father and I am very much surprised to know that his son is way different from him. I don't think there's even a slightest trace of kindness inside his bone. Maybe he was adopted. That's the only reason I could think of for his father to have an arrogant and self-centered son like him. It didn't take long until I saw Lucas went out of the building together with two middle-aged men. I recognized both of them. The other one is the Senate President and the other one is the Chief Justice of the country. This is my last chance to convince him to take my case for free. Attorney Hargreaves, I shouted, trying to get their attention. They all looked at my direction at once. I quickly walked towards them when I caught their attention. I readied my sweetest smile. It's showtime, I smiled to myself. You underestimated me, attorney. I just want to say thank you for taking my case for free. I always knew how kind you are. Until now. I can't believe that you were willing to help me with nothing in return, I exaggeratedly said while acting in front of them. Really? Did you do that, Lucas? I'm so proud of you, the Senate President commented. I smiled to myself when I heard that. Gotcha. That's so rare nowadays, companero. The Chief Justice even added. I never doubted that you were such a great person, the Senate President said before bursting into laughter. Attorney Lucas, I called him, trying to get some statements with him. Yes, I accepted her case with nothing in return. I wanted to continue my dad's legacy on helping those people who are in need, he said while trying to break a smile. I almost burst into laughter when we looked at each other and I can see murder in his eyes. He wasn't aware that I recorded the little talk we had today, just in case he tried to deny it later. The Senate President and the Chief Justice bid their goodbye when their respective cars arrived. I waved goodbye when they finally left. I turned my face on Lucas, who kept on glaring at me. He turned his back on me without saying anything. Hey, wait up, I called him. He didn't turn around and act as if he didn't hear me. I can sense that he's adding phase to his walk. That's why I tried to run after him, but it's too late. He already got inside his building, and his security guard is now blocking me and preventing me from getting inside. I quickly get my phone and rise it up in the air before playing the recording. I will post it online if you don't fulfill your promise, I shouted so he could hear me. He immediately stopped and turned around. I could see his dark face from afar. He walked briskly towards the entrance of the building. I can sue you for defamation, he threatened. It's not defamation if it's true. The Senate President and the Chief Justice can attest to this, I confidently answered him, smirking at him. The great Lucas Sebastian Hargreaves was outmatched by an ordinary person like me. I heard him growl inwardly, and I can't help but flash my sweetest smile. He looked at the ceiling momentarily before taking a deep breath. Let her in, he said before turning his back at me. The two guards looked at each other before putting down their arms that blocked me from entering the building. I held my head up high upon entering the building. I turned around and looked at the guards that dragged me out of the premises. I stuck out my tongue at them as my sign of revenge. I was busy annoying the guards when I heard the baritone behind my back. If you're done playing, would you please follow me now? I still have a lot of more important things to do, he said coldly. I quickly turned my face at him. I saw him inside the elevator holding the button so it will stay open. I walked briskly towards the elevator and beside him. Our arms touch each other and I almost jump from my feet when I feel 1,000 jolts of electricity running through my body. just by the mere touching of our skin. Could you please give me some space, he said. I quickly move away from him, and put a space in between us. I stood on the farthest corner of the elevator so we will never touch each other again. Chapter 13. Lucas, I can't believe what I am doing right now. I'm back at my office holding a letter that states something about a certain land in Cagayan. In front of me is the most annoying woman I ever met. She's sitting straight in the chair in front of my table, while smiling widely. She was wearing a floral dress with a spaghetti strap that was partnered with plain white sneakers. Though she's loud and annoying, I can't help but notice her long black slightly curly hair that was just below her shoulder. Her body frame was thin to medium built with cup B breast size, I think. That perfectly blends with her pale white skin. She has a pointed nose and rosy cheeks that I can't help but notice. Her small brown eyes complement her heart-shaped face, and she has these very distinct dimples on both sides of her mouth that almost look like a dot, which shows even in the slightest move of her mouth. Attorney, I heard her calling me with her angelic voice, bringing me back from admiring her beautiful face. Snap out of it, Lucas. I can't believe I'm admiring this little witch in front of me. Can you please explain to me again what this letter means? I asked her. As I said, I saw this letter from my father when I was cleaning up his things. It says there that he's leaving me a piece of land, she said while animatedly telling the story about the letter. So, you're saying that you want to claim that supposedly your father left you before he died? I repeated. Yes, she excitedly answered. Do you have the land title? I asked her. I already know where this is going. She doesn't have any papers that will prove that the land is legally hers aside from a piece of paper that her father supposedly left for her. I looked at her and I saw her squinting towards me. If I have the title, I won't need to bother you, would I? She sarcastically said. Her fierceness is really getting on my nerves. I'm not really sure if I'm doing the right thing. This will definitely give me headaches. So, you're basically telling me that you want to reclaim the land that you think your father owned with just a piece of paper, I told her, annoyed. Yup, she proudly said, crossing both of her arms in front of her chest before leaning on the backrest. I bowed my head and took a deep breath before holding my temple. The day hasn't ended yet, but I feel like I'll be having a headache for a week. Do you realize how weak your case is? I told her, frowning. You don't have any legitimate proof to claim the land other than this piece of paper that has no legal bind. I told her before slumping my back on the backrest of my swivel chair. That's why I came to you, she said, acting proud of her decision, as if it was the best decision she ever made in her entire life. You're one of the best lawyers here in our country, and I believed in you. It amazes me how she can put all of her trust in me even though she's not sure that I can do any help with her. This is a hopeless case. I can easily tell her that, but something inside me doesn't want to crush any little hope she has. Looking at her, it seems like this land that supposedly her father left her is very important to her. Fine, we need to go see this land that you're talking about. We have to talk to those people who are claiming it, I told her. If they can't show any papers to prove their claim, we might win this case, I explained to her. That's all I need, attorney, for you to at least try, she said after getting up from her seat and grabbing my hand and pulling it close to her chest. She looked me in the eyes as if I saved her life from imminent danger. She's staring at me with too much gratefulness and admiration. I quickly pulled back my hand from her. I don't like the feeling of starting to crawl up to my existence. I can't be attracted to this annoying little witch. I saw her pout her lips. She's clearly disappointed by my abrupt actions. I cleared my throat and moved my eyes away from her. Her mesmerizing eyes are not that easy to forget. Just give me the exact address of the area, and I'll meet you there tomorrow, I told her. What? Why meet me there when we can go there together? She said with that annoying smile plastered in her face. I'll just meet you at the airport, I blandly said to her. Airport? Aren't we going there by car? She said. That's a 9-hour trip. Miss, are you expecting me to waste that much time for a pro bono case? I told her, glaring at her. She pursed her lips and directly looked me in the eye. Can you book me a ticket? She said that as if she's squirming in pain. She pressed her eyes and lips after she finished her sentence. I took the time to properly look at her face while her eyes were closed. I can't help but smile. Her innocent face brings undefinable feelings to me. She slowly opened her eyes when she heard nothing from me. She frowned when she saw me smiling while looking at her. I immediately suppressed my smile when I saw her open her eyes. Are you laughing at me? She said while crossing her arms in front of her chest. And why is that? Did I say something funny? She said. I can see that she's starting to get irritated. I chuckle. You have the guts to go here and force me to represent you for free, but you didn't stop there. You even want me to pay for your plane ticket. I said that to tease her, but I'm not expecting to see her fierce face fall into sadness. I don't know, but I feel like something pierced into my heart upon seeing the sadness in her eyes. Yeah, you're right. That's too much too. Fine, I'll pay for your ticket. Give me your full details so my secretary can book it for us. I cut her off. I can't stand seeing her like this. I can't believe what I am feeling right now. Really? Just like that, her face started to brighten again. I will pay little by little. I promised. I'll work hard for it, she said while raising her right hand. I can't help but curse. This is not me, I told myself while shaking my head. Write down your details here, then you can leave. My secretary will call you to send you the details of our trip, I explained while trying to focus my eyes on the papers on my table. I slowly took a glimpse of her. She was leaning towards my table while writing her details on the piece of paper that I gave her. I was intently observing her when she suddenly lifted her head, causing our eyes to meet. I quickly shifted my gaze to avoid her eyes. It seems like she didn't mind my stealthy looks. They're done, she announced after writing all her details on the paper. I cleared my throat before I finally said, you can leave now, I commanded her without looking at her. For the last time, I lifted my head so I could have a last glance at her beautiful face, but I was stunned when I saw her leaning on my table. Her face is inches away from mine. Thank you, attorney, she said before placing a quick kiss on my cheeks. I was stunned and caught off guard. I felt paralyzed on my seat, and it was too late for me to react because she immediately ran towards the door after placing a soft kiss on my cheek. She even went back and peeked on the door, while smiling sweetly and waving her goodbyes. I was shaking my head when I finally got back into my senses. I'm not really sure what happened, but I think I was swept off from my feet by that annoying little witch. I can't believe that I experienced that roller coaster ride in just one day because of that woman. It makes me think about how my life would be if I would wake up every morning with that woman beside me. There will never be a dull moment for sure. Whoa, slow down, Romeo. What am I thinking? I just met her and I'm already thinking about married life. I picked up the piece of paper where she wrote all the details that I asked for. I was staring at the details that were written on it, most especially her name, Margaret Sophia Montana. What a lovely name. I let out a deep sigh before going back to work, but no matter how hard I try to focus on the cases that I'm reading, I can't get her out of my head. Her beautiful smile keeps on lurking inside my mind. After a few minutes, I gave up on reading the documents and leaned my back on the backrest. I closed my eyes and her gorgeous face started to show on my imaginations. I quickly opened my eyes and sit up straight. I can't work properly because of that woman. I dialed the local number of my secretary. Yes, attorney? Hargreaves, she said flirtatiously. If she answered me this way in some other days I might fucked her like there's no tomorrow. But today is different. I can't think about anything other than the face of that little annoying angel. I just hope Amberly gets back as soon as possible. She has been my father's trusted secretary, and had been my secretary for a couple of months now. She took a vacation leave because she got family emergency. I let her take leaves as much as she needed. She deserved that for working so hard. Book me 2 tickets to Igig, Cagayan. Earliest flight tomorrow, I command her. What are we going to Cagayan? So she said using her sexist voice. But instead of getting aroused, it annoys me. You're not coming with me. I'll dictate to you the details of the companions so you can both book us a ticket, I answered before dictating the complete name of the woman who just can't get out of my mind. Give me a copy of the tickets after you finish. I didn't wait for her to answer. I just put down the phone. I can just give her this little piece of paper, but I don't know why I can't let this go. I still have other things in mind. Half an hour had passed and someone came knocking on my door. I know it's my secretary, that's why I told her to come in. Here are the tickets that you asked, so she said before handing me that printed plain ticket. I reached for it without lifting my head and put the tickets on my table. I continue massaging my temple. I was stunned when I felt a pair of hands massaging my shoulder. You want a massage? So she seductively whispers against my heart. Just like a while ago, instead of getting aroused by her seduction, I felt my blood boils, and I felt irritated. What the fuck are you doing? I shouted at her. That surely startled her. Get out of my fucking office and don't ever come unless I told you so. I scolded her without looking at her face. I don't care if she gets offended by what. I'm not interested in any woman right now aside from that annoying little witch that keeps on bugging my mind. I picked up the tickets that were sitting on my table. I stared at the name that was written on it. I chuckled while shaking my head before reaching out for my phone. I dialed the number that she left. I was tapping my fingers on my table while waiting for her to answer the phone. I frowned when the operator started talking, indicating that she didn't answer my call. Maybe she's not answering because this is an unregistered number. I tried to call her one more time, but it's still the same. Hey dimwit, answer my call or else I'll drop your case, I texted her. I waited again for a couple of moments before dialing her number again. After a few rings, she finally picked up the phone. I was about to scold her for making me call her a few times, but I was confused when I heard loud music in her background. Hello attorney, is there any problem? She answered. I immediately put away my phone from my ear when she shouted. I'm not deaf. Don't shout, I told her. I looked at the clock to check what time now. It's only 7 in the evening. She's partying this early. I thought she didn't have money. I frowned with the thought that she's just making an excuse so she can go on with this trip for free. I'm sorry, attorney. Is it urgent? I'm at work at the moment. Can I call you after my shift? She said. Behind her is the loud banging of party music. I suddenly felt uncomfortable knowing that she's working in that kind of environment. I feel a sudden urge of saving her, though I'm not really sure if she needs saving. Send me your location. I'll go there. What? Why? I can sense panic in her voice. I squinted my eyes. I don't like the idea that she's hiding something from me. I feel like a jealous husband who's checking up on his wife. Do you want to pursue the case or not? Yes, of course. I'll text you my location. She immediately answered, which makes me smile to myself. Our flight will be at 3 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. I called my maid so she could prepare some clothes for me and told them to deliver it at the airport. I looked at my phone when I received a text. It was from her, and the address is a local bar here in Makati, just a few minutes away from my office. I somehow feel excited with the thought of seeing her again.
Chapter 14. Lucas. I arrived at the location of the bar that she texted me. It was a high-end bar located in the heart of Makati. It makes me wonder what kind of job she is talking about. My face started to dark upon thinking of what might be her work here. This is the kind of bar where women are one of the menu items they're serving to their customers. I know the owner of this bar and I don't like that man. He once visited my firm to get my service when he sexually assaulted one of his employees. I immediately turned him down. I don't work with that kind of man. I entered the bar and I was immediately greeted by the staff. He led me to one of the VIP seats. I keep on looking around searching for some familiar faces. I kept on looking in the VIP tables, but I was hoping that I would never see her sitting there, or God knows what I will do with those bastards touching my girl. Your girl, Lucas? Really? I quickly shake my head to get off those unnecessary things that come into my mind. Few minutes passed and the staff went back to get my order. I don't have any plans on drinking since I still have a flight early in the morning. Are you ready to order? So he said. I'll call you when I'm ready, I coldly answered. He quickly moved away upon feeling the coldness in my voice. I dialed her number so I can tell her that I'm here. Her phone line just keeps on ringing but she's not answering. Damn it, I shouted when the line was cut off and she's still not answering. I was about to call her phone again when I heard that familiar sweet voice. Do you like some cigarettes? So she said. I almost didn't recognize her because of the amount of makeup that was sitting on her face. If not for her sweetest smile and her angelic voice, I wouldn't even know who she was. Her eyes widen when she realizes who I am. "Hey attorney," she stuttered upon recognizing me. "In the flesh," I said before leaning back on the backrest of the big couch and spreading my arms wide. "What are you doing here?" she said. Shocked is evident in her face. "What do you mean? What am I doing here? Don't I tell you over the phone that I'll be coming here?" I frowned upon reminding her. "Oh, yeah right, I'm so sorry, I'm preoccupied with my work. Can you wait for me after I sold all these cigarettes?" she said while awkwardly smiling at me. That's when I realized she's wearing a black mini dress that's revealing her skin too much. The neckline was too low and the end of the skirt is just inches below her precious thing. I can see her perfectly smooth legs from where I am sitting. It was different from the dress that she's wearing while she's at my office. I like that better. I don't like the idea of men feasting on her delicate skin. She might notice that I'm checking out her dress and each moment past my face continues to get crumpled. My eyes went back to her face and I can sense that she's feeling conscious by the way I looked at her. "I'm a very busy man, Ms. Montana. I don't have a lot of time to spare," I coldly told her, trying to hide the jealousy that was starting to grow on me. "I know and I'm sorry. I'll just finish this real quick and I'll be back shortly," she answered, apologetically. "How much for all of that?" I'm referring to the packs of cigarettes that she's holding. It seems like she's working here as a promoter of cigarettes. I kinda felt relieved upon learning the nature of her work. "What?" she asked me as if she didn't hear me clearly. "That's the most annoying thing for me. I hate to repeat myself," I told her before glaring at her. I can sense the panic in her eyes. She immediately picked up her phone and started to count all the cigarette packs that she's holding, including the ones in her black sling bag. The night is still young, that's why she still has a lot of cigarette packs in her bag. I quickly brought it out from her bag and started counting. One cigarette rim is equal to 20 packs. She brought out a total of 5 rims. That would be 7,500 pesos for 50 packs of cigarettes. 150 pesos each, she said with heavy breathing. I picked up my wallet and handed her 10,000 bills. "Here, keep the change. Can we go now?" I asked her upon handing her the money. She immediately accepted it and counted the money. When she's finally satisfied, she flashes me her sweetest smile before giving me a thumbs up. "Where should I put this, attorney?" she asked me. "Leave it there. That's not even my brand. I don't smoke cheap tobacco," I told her before grabbing her hand and went straight to the exit. Why did you do that? I heard her say before she shook her hands away from my grip when we finally got out of the bar. I frowned upon looking at her. What's her problem now? Shouldn't she feel grateful that I make her job easier? What? I irritably asked her. I'm not a beggar. You don't have to shove your money in my face, she said while her eyes are focused on the floor. Just because you paid for my plane ticket doesn't mean you have the right to belittle me, she added. What? Where is she going with this? I started to get annoyed by her reaction, but all of that ran out of the window when I saw her tears running down her cheeks. Damn it, I don't really have any idea what I did wrong, but I think I offended her somehow. What are you talking about? I asked her. I want to know what I am missing here. That thing you left there is worth almost a month of my tuition, and yet you just throw away your money like that, she said in between her sobbing. I can't understand what I'm feeling right now. I wanted to hold her and comfort her from crying, but at the same time, I wanted to laugh at her for being so sentimental. I already paid for that. I can do whatever I want to do with what I bought, right? But, she was about to contradict me, but I decided to cut her off and give in. There's no use in arguing with her. Okay, let's go back inside and get all those items, I told her. Her face immediately lightened up upon hearing what I said. I was shaking my head while following her back inside the bar. When we arrived at the table where I was previously sitting, the packs of cigarettes are nowhere to be found. I felt relieved when I saw that it was gone. At least I don't have to force myself to use that. It's gone now. Let's go, I shouted in her ear so she can hear me. But she was about to protest, but I didn't give her the chance. I immediately pulled her out of the bar. I turned to face her when we finally got out of the bar, only to see her wrinkled face and pouty lips. What? I can't help but smile upon watching her throwing a tantrum like a child. We should go back and ask the staff. I cut her off. No need. Besides, we have a plane to catch, I told her, which causes her eyes to widen. Like right now? She shockingly asked. In about? I looked at my watch for a moment, seeing it was only 8 in the evening. 7 hours. Our flight will be on 3 in the morning, I told her. What? She exclaimed. I need to pack my clothes, she said, panicking. Let's just buy some along the way, I said without thinking. She immediately stopped walking, which made me turn my face on her. I don't have money, she said, pouting. I just paid you 10,000 pesos, right? Yes, but I can't use that to buy new clothes. I have a lot of more important things to pay rather than buy new clothes, she said, her face starting to become serious. Let's go to my boarding house for a quick minute. I'll pack lights so you won't have to wait longer, she said while holding both of her hands in front of her as if she's praying. I can't believe I'm really doing this for a woman who's not even my girlfriend, not even a fling. I continued walking and I could feel her presence behind my back. I stopped in front of my car that was parked a few meters away from the bar. I turned around and faced her after I opened that door of my car. Get in. 30 minutes and that's all I'm giving you. She quickly jumped in glee before walking briskly towards the car. I shut the door when she finally got in. I was shaking my head while I was walking around to go to the driver's seat. Put on your seat belt, I told her as I was fixing mine. I was about to start the car when I realized that I haven't heard the sound of her seat belt locking. I turned around and found her struggling with her seat belt. I hissed before grabbing the end of the seat belt and pulling it force, then locking it on the other side. I think I startled her with my actions. Our faces that were inches away from each other also didn't help. I cleared my throat to break the sudden awkwardness that was starting to engulf our surroundings. Just guide me and show me the way. I'm not familiar with your address, I told her before starting the car. A few minutes passed and I was waiting for her instruction regarding our way to her house, but when I shifted my gaze on her I found her sleeping soundly. I don't know why, but I don't have the courage to wake her up. Looking at her sleeping soundly gives me a sudden peacefulness in my heart. It was as if her face brought too much joy to my heart without even doing anything. I shake my head before pressing my built-in phone in the car and call my good friend Hunter, who has a lot of state-of-the-art gadgets and high-end satellite connections. It only takes a few rings before he answers. I'm sleeping, you asshole, he greeted. I chuckled upon hearing his annoyed voice. I need your help, I told him. This is past office hours. Call me tomorrow, he said before ending the call. Asshole. I tried calling him again. After a few rings, he answered again, and before he could say anything I preceded him. Don't you dare put it down or I will withdraw as your legal consultant. I heard him growl on the other line upon hearing it. I smiled to myself. What is it, Lucas? He irritably asked me. I'm giving you an address. Send the exact GPS to my car. I recite her complete address while Hunter is listening over the phone. It took him a couple of minutes before he reacted. What are you going to do in the slums? He curiously asked. Slums? She's living in that kind of area. I frowned with that new information about her. It's none of your business. Now send me the exact GPS and you can go back to sleep, I ordered him. Fuck you, you didn't even say thank you. I'll send you my bill tomorrow, he threatened. Fine, just send it to my office. My secretary will take care of it, I told him before cutting off the call. I didn't wait for him to answer. I don't want him asking too many questions. I turned my face in her direction. I smiled to myself upon seeing her beautiful face. I almost burst into laughter when she started snoring. Instead of getting turned off, seeing her like this brought unknown emotions into my heart. It feels like I already know her for a long time and that my heart only beats for her. I can't believe that I'm starting to fall in love with a woman I just met this morning. The more that I get to know about her, the more that she's starting to carve herself into my heart. Being with her makes me feel like a normal person, away from the pressure of society. Is this what they call love at first sight? I don't really believe in that, but I'm not sure what to call these unknown emotions that are starting to crawl up to my existence and starting to build a nest inside my heart. I just keep on shaking my head while looking at the GPS that Hunter sent me. I started to focus my attention to my driving and tried to forget about the undefinable feeling inside even just for a moment. Chapter 15. Lucas. We're already here in front of her boarding house according to the GPS that Hunter sent me. She's still sleeping and I don't have the heart to wake her up. She looked tired and restless. We still have a lot of spare time before our flight. Letting her sleep for a couple of minutes won't hurt. I looked outside and all I can see are different kinds of wool. There's a small sari store just around the corner. There's also a couple of people sitting around at a small table and drinking alcohol. Kids are still running around the street even though it's already late. I suddenly felt unsecured for her safety. How can she stand living in this kind of neighborhood? I was startled when one of the men that was drinking on the side street went near us and struck the window of my car. My car is tinted, so he leaned on my window and brought his face closer to it with both of his hands covering the side of his face so he could see behind the tinted glass. I was about to reach for my gun, just in case. Before my hand even reached my car's compartment, I felt someone grab my hand. I turned to face her. She shakes her head and gestures to leave it to her. I saw her push down the button for the window. It was too late for me to stop her since the window already started to open. Good evening, Mang Denshio. How's your drinking going? She greeted the man outside my car as if they were closed. Oh, it's you, Gary. I thought someone got lost in our area, he said while scratching his head. The scary man that used to strike the window of my car already gone. Upon seeing Gary, he suddenly becomes a gentle sheep. Gary gave him an awkward smile as if she's not convinced by his excuse. That's okay, Mang Denshio. You can go back to your friends now, she said, smiling back at him. It makes me frown how Gary seems to be respected in these slums. The man bid his goodbye. He can't keep up walking straight while going back to his friends. I was shaking my head while hissing before turning around to face her. I saw her staring at me. How did you know my place? She confusedly asked. You gave me your address, remember, I reminded her. I spare her the details of asking my friend to locate her exact location. Oh yeah, you should have woken me up. This place is not very much warmed and welcoming outsiders, she said. Especially an outsider with an expensive car, she added. I massaged my temple upon hearing that. I'm not really sure why I'm going up to this length just to help this woman. Just go get your things, I told her, trying not to turn my anger on her. I am actually mad with myself for not knowing the reason why I'm doing all of this. I'm an intelligent man. I could think of something if I really wanted to get rid of her. But I know deep inside me, I don't have the courage to do that. I can't stand seeing her get disappointed, much more seeing her sad. I think I'm going crazy now. Oh okay, give me 30 minutes, she said before quickly going out of my car. I saw her go to the group where the man she called Mang Denshio was seated. I even saw her pointed out at my direction. That looks like she's leaving me in their care. I was amazed at how she can boss them around. She's definitely not a typical woman, I said to myself while shaking my head, not believing what I am experiencing right now. True to her words, she didn't take more than 30 minutes to prepare her things. I saw her walking briskly towards my car while waving goodbye to the people that greeted her. She was wearing denim jeans and a plain white shirt partnered with white sneakers that I saw her wearing this morning. On her back is a big backpack, which I guessed is where her clothes are packed. She immediately went inside my car. See, less than 30 minutes, she proudly says upon entering my car, flashing her sweetest smile. I just rolled my eyes at her and started turning on the engine. I can't let her notice that I can be affected by her slightest smile. I maintain my straight face while driving to the airport. She seems to have regained her strength from her nap, because she keeps on touching all the things in my car. Everything amazes her, even the ordinary sunroof seems like new to her. She pressed a button which makes the sunroof open. Whoa, she exaggeratedly expressed upon seeing the top roof open. I chuckled upon watching how amusing she was. She was like a child in a playground exploring everything around her. You know what, attorney? This is the first time that I ride an expensive car, she said, smiling widely. I remained quiet, trying not to look like I'm interested, but deep inside, I know that I want to know everything about her, but my ego won't accept it. I saw her pout over the rear view mirror upon realizing that I'm ignoring her. Our trip to the airport has been awkwardly silent. When she realized that I'm ignoring her, she didn't attempt to communicate with me again. That was supposedly favorable for me, but I felt a sudden loneliness when I didn't hear her annoying voice. This is a total madness. Get a grip, Lucas. We arrived at the airport 4 hours before our flight. I coordinated with my butler to meet me at Bay 10 so he can get my belongings from him and he can drive my car back to my house. We continued to get inside the airport and check in our baggage. I'm still not trying to make any conversation with her. I can see that she's getting annoyed bit by bit as I go on ignoring her presence. She didn't have to check in her bag since it doesn't exceed the allowed weight for hand carry. She was waiting for me outside the line while I went on and checked in my baggage. She keeps on frowning and rolling her eyes on me. That makes me shake my head when I go to her. What a temper. We still have time to eat. Are you hungry? I asked her. She keeps on avoiding my gaze while crossing her arms in front of her chest. I hold her chin and force her to look me in the eyes. When she can't move her head to look away from me, she closed her eyes just to avoid my gaze. I chuckled. If you don't open your eyes, I'm going to kiss you, I warned her. I was actually hoping that she won't open her eyes so I can finally have the privilege of owning her lips. But to my dismay, she opened her eyes and pouted her lips. I hate you, she said after finally meeting my gaze. And why is that? I teased her with a playful smile on my lips. Because, she stuttered. Can't find the right word to say why she hates me, which makes me smile even more. I just hate you, she said, stomping her feet and abruptly turning her face so she would be free from my hand. Come on, let's eat, I told her before grabbing her hand and leading her towards the nearest restaurant. I'm not hungry, she snapped at me. As we got our table, the waiter handed us the menu. It didn't take long before her stomach started to grumble. I chuckled upon hearing how hungry she was. You're saying something, I teased her. She just hissed at me and focused her eyes on the menu. It was a fast food restaurant that serves pizza and pasta. I don't have much time to choose among the restaurants. I just choose the one nearest. I'll just have the pasta, she said, pointing at the a la carte meal on the menu. I raised my eyebrow at her. I know she's really hungry and I don't think one serving of pasta would be enough to make her full. I decided to order a regular size pizza, basket of chicken, and some mojos. Her eyes widened upon hearing me giving my order to the waiter. Are you going to eat all of that? She exaggeratedly asked with eyes wide open. No. You're going to eat all of that, I said casually. What? She exclaimed, making some of the customers in the restaurant look at us. I know you're hungry, okay, so just sit back, relax, and enjoy the food, I told her. Don't worry about the bill, this is my treat. Her eyes started to grow wider even more. Eventually she clapped her hand with excitement. I was amazed seeing her being excited by merely thinking about the food. She's definitely way far from all the women I used to date. She doesn't care about what she eat, unlike those figure-conscious bitches that look like sticks. I like my woman curvy. Your woman, Lucas. I just keep on shaking my head with all these thoughts coming into my mind. The moment the food arrived, Gary didn't miss any moments. She immediately dived into the food served in front of her. She slowly lifted her eyes at me when she felt that I was watching her. Aren't you going to eat? I almost didn't understand what she's talking about because her mouth was full of food. Didn't your mother teach you not to talk when your mouth is full? I jokingly told her. I immediately regret the words that come out of my mouth when her jolly face starts to fall into sadness. The smile in her face started to fade and bow down her head while looking blankly at the food on her plate. She swallowed the food in her mouth before she started speaking. She died shortly after my father. It was my aunt who raised me, she told me. I'm sorry, that's all I can say after that stupid remark. I didn't know, I added. It's fine, it's all in the past. Let's forget about it, she said, waving her hand while trying to bring back her smile. Come on, let's eat. I tried to continue eating and knows that I already ruined the mood. We continued eating silently. It was an awkward silence. No one dared to speak until we finished eating. It was a relief seeing that she still managed to finish all the food regardless of her mood. She might be really hungry. Gary looked at me as if she could read my mind. I'm sorry I finished all your food. I haven't had my lunch until now, she shyly answered my unspoken question. It's fine, you shouldn't skip your meal, I reminded her. She just gave me a small nod and a shy smile. After paying the bills, we head straight to our plane. It didn't take long before they announced our flight. We are still not talking to each other. I suddenly missed the sound of her voice. I'm not really sure what I would feel if the times came that we don't have any reason to see each other again. I will certainly miss her. My life will surely be dull without her in it, but I don't have any reason to make her stay. I looked at her angelic face while she's walking alongside me. I always booked a business class flight and I guess this is also her first time flying through first class. The awkwardness that was engulfing us a while ago suddenly disappeared the moment she saw our flight. Are we really flying business class? She excitedly asked me while jumping. I nodded at her for confirmation. I can't help but smile while watching her. She's like a kid sometimes, which makes her even more attractive. Can I take the window seat? I nod again. All the crews are watching her. Some of them are shaking their heads because of her ignorance while some of them are smiling at her. Gary didn't mind them at all. She is taking the time of her life in discovering all the new things that she's experiencing right now. What would I do if all of these are over? Will she stay with me after this? Maybe I should give her a reason to stay.
Chapter 16. Gary, I still can't believe that I fly on a business class flight. It was surreal, and until now I am pinching myself, just to make sure that it's not a dream. What are you doing? He asked me, frowning while looking at me. I'm pinching myself, I innocently answered him. I'm just making sure that I wasn't dreaming. Do you know that it was once in a blue moon that I would get a chance to fly on business class? I told him, leaning towards him while holding his arms. He put his hand on my face and pushed me away from him. I pouted my lips and glared at him. I was about to bring my face closer to him when I realized something. How much do I owe you for this? I exclaimed. All the other passengers turned their heads at once in our direction. I raised my hand and signed a peace sign as a sign of apology for my disturbance. I brought my face closer to his ear and whispered my question again. How much do I owe you? Don't mind that. Just stop bothering me and stay still, he said, frowning. I was stunned by what he said. Is he serious? Is he really not going to ask me to pay for all my expenses during this trip? No matter how tempting it is, I'm not a charity. I will pay no matter what. Send me the total bill. I will pay you little by little, I said with finality before slumping back on the backrest. I heard him let out a deep sigh before turning his face on me. Okay, fine, if that's what you want. I'll tell my secretary to send you the bill after all of this, he said. I can see his intense gaze using my peripheral view. I suddenly felt scared to look him in the eyes. It was as if I would surely lose into reverie the moment I look into those gorgeous dark green eyes. Shit, why do I feel nervous whenever he's looking at me? Another half an hour had passed until we heard the flight attendant announcing that we are finally taking off. She recites all the dos and don'ts during the flight. The flight attendant's flirty glances towards Lucas didn't escape my sight. I suddenly felt anger towards the woman who keeps on throwing glances at Lucas. I shift my gaze to Lucas only to find his eyes closed while resting his head on the backrest. I take that opportunity to study his face even more. Have you put on your seatbelt? He said without opening his eyes. I answered, trying not to make more sound so he wouldn't notice that my face is so close to his. Are you done watching my face? He opened his one eye, which made me get back on my seat quickly. I heard him chuckle. I quickly covered my face with the blanket that was sitting on my lap. After a couple of minutes, the plane started to take off. I quickly grabbed his hand because I suddenly felt nervous. This is my first time riding a plane, and my excitement turned into fear when they started to go up in the air. I shut my eyes in fear. I can't properly explain what I'm feeling right now. I feel like my ears will start bursting at any moment. My grip on Lucas' hand is tightening more and more as the altitude of the plane arises. I was about to scream in fear when I heard his baritone voice against my ear. Start gulping little by little to lessen the pressure in your ear. I followed what he said, and I felt relief when it was starting to fade. My eyes were still closed when I felt him putting something in my ears. My hand slowly reached for it, and that's when I realized that it was an earplug. My hand that was gripping his arm is now intertwined with his. I suddenly felt safe. I keep my eyes shut until the plane is finally stable in the air. Though I finally felt okay, I still don't want to let go of his hand. I feel comfortable with his touch. His hands feel like my safe haven. I was so thankful that he didn't try to let go or even attempt to let go of my hand. My breathing has become stable and my grip on his hand started to loosen, but I'm still not letting go totally. The pressure in my ears also started to fade. I'm starting to feel much better now. I slowly opened my eyes only to be greeted by his face closer to mine. Feeling better? He asked me while flashing me his most dashing smile. All I could was nod and be mesmerized with his tantalizing eyes. Thank you, I muttered. Everything started to go back to normal when he went back leaning on his seat before closing his eyes. It seems like he was trying to go get some sleep. My eyes fell on our hands that were still intertwined. I looked at his hand face one last time before slowly trying to remove my hand on his. I was startled when he tightened his grip on my hand as if he's not willing to let go. I looked at his face, and his eyes remained closed. I pursed my lips and smiled to myself. I leaned back on my seat and closed my eyes to try to get some sleep while feeling the warmth of his hand on mine. I was woken up by a gentle tap on my shoulder. I slowly opened my eyes and I figured out that I was leaning on a hard thing and a manly scent was invading my nose. Wake up! We're here. I heard a baritone speak from above my head. I quickly got up and sat up straight. I didn't realize that I was leaning on his shoulder while sleeping. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sleep on your shoulder. Am I heavy? I asked him, feeling ashamed of what happened. Don't worry, it didn't bother me, he said, smiling sweetly at me. My cheeks suddenly started burning. I looked down so I could hide my face from him. People around us started to move and get their bags. I quickly got up and tried to move away from him to escape the awkward situation, but to my luck, I was pushed by one of the passengers, which caused me to lose my balance. Lucas was quick to catch me so I won't fall on the ground. The passenger who accidentally pushed me immediately said his sorry. I felt his hands wrapped around my waist, and I instantly felt something inside me that I can't explain. All of a sudden, heat started to crawl up into my body. I was yearning for his touch in this open space. Such a shame, I told myself. I can't believe I was fantasizing this man in broad daylight, though the sun hasn't risen yet since it was just 4:30 in the morning. I promptly got back on my feet and fixed my shirt that slightly went up by my sudden movement. I cleared my throat before reaching for my bag in the overhead bin. It was slightly high given my height. I was startled when he stood up and walked in front of me before reaching for my bag. Thank you, I stuttered when he handed me my bag. His bags were checked in since he got a lot of stuff with him. For a man, he didn't know how to pack lightly. I just realized that he hasn't changed his clothes since yesterday. Did he go directly to my working place from his office? It seems like he was still wearing a tie and slacks the same as yesterday. He just removed his coat and folded his white long sleeves up to his elbow. He hasn't removed his necktie. I didn't realize that I was already staring at him. He caught my attention by snapping his fingers in front of my face. I got back on my senses the moment I heard his snap. Do you have any plans of going down? We're the only remaining passengers here, he said once I came back to my senses. I walked briskly towards the exit, bowing my head to the flight attendants for keeping them waiting. He was shaking his head while smiling. I hissed at him when I saw him laughing at me. I squinted my eyes at him to warn him. He pursed his lips to suppress his smile, and I just cocked my head towards him. I widened my eyes at him, hoping that I can scare him somehow. What? He asked in between his laugh. Stop that or I swear I'll kick your ass even if you're the one who paid for this trip, I told him before turning my back at him. Which I'm going to pay when I got my salary, I added, abruptly turning my back at him while pointing my finger. He raised both of his hands as a sign of defeat while trying hard to hide his smile. Try harder, I told him when I saw him smiling again. Okay, easy boss, he said before putting his hands on my shoulder and gently massaging it. I quickly shook off his hands from my shoulder because of the sudden electricity that I felt from his hands touching my exposed skin. He just chuckled upon seeing his reaction. I like this playful Lucas, way far from the serious and always frowning Lucas that I met in his office. Is it really possible that a man can change in a day? I was looking at him intently, enjoying the freshness of his face due to his frequent smiling since we got here. He turned his face on me and saw me staring at him. Is there something on my face? He asked while smiling. Who are you and what did you do to Lucas? I said, squinting my eyes at him. Are you part of a syndicate who copied his face so you can claim all his wealth and power? I exaggeratedly told him. He chuckled upon my accusation. You should be a writer. You have a very creative mind, he said. No, I don't like to write. I like sculpting better, I said while helping him get his bag from the baggage carousel. Really? I don't see you as a sculptor, he commented. Why? Because I don't have dirt under my fingernails, I sarcastically uttered. No, not that. I just don't see a female sculptor more often, he said. We continued walking towards the exit of the airport, where we could find a taxi going to Igig, Cagayan. That's stereotyping, you know. Women can be sculptors or anything they want, I told him without looking at him. We were walking alongside, and I could see him staring at me. I dare not to look at his side, so I won't meet his mesmerizing eyes. So, you're into women empowerment? He asked again. No, I'm into women's equality. We don't have to be empowered if people will treat us as their equal, I told him, still not looking at him and walking straight ahead to the exit. You do know that men and women can never be equal, he said, which makes my blood boil. I'm starting to like this new Lucas, but I changed my mind. I wanted to murder him right now. How could he say that? Women are always above men, he said. That stunned me. Women have a lot of things that men can't do. We may be powerful physically, but in all other aspects, women are always ahead of us, he continued. I was in awe upon hearing his words. I'm not expecting to hear any of that from a man like Lucas. Why did I find it hard to believe? I remarked. I'm sure you have so many women wrapped around your fingers, and can make them drop on their knees with just one snap, I added. Don't get me wrong, I have my fair share of naughtiness when it comes to women, but I don't play with their feelings. They know the score from the beginning, he said with cockiness. I don't let them assume and wait for nothing, he said, smirking at me. I know how to respect women. I rolled my eyes at his last remarks. Men and their egos, but at least I felt relieved knowing about his thoughts regarding women. Few minutes passed after we got out of the airport. A black sedan stopped in front of us. Where did you get this? Is there a grab here? I asked him. I asked my secretary to prepare all of this yesterday, he said, leaning his head on the backrest while massaging his temple. He looks like he didn't get enough sleep last night. Is it because of me? Am I heavy? My eyes slowly widen with the thought that I have become inconvenient to him. Are you okay? I asked him, trying to know what I can do for him. That's the least I could do for him for helping me. Though, I only coerced him in doing this job for me. I'm fine, don't worry. He will bring us to our hotel where we can leave our bags, he said, still not lifting his head from the backrest. I just shut my mouth and keep quiet so he can get some rest. It's still early. I think putting our bags in a hotel is the best idea. I turned my face on the window to enjoy the sunrise that was starting to show and lighten up the beautiful place of Cagayan. Chapter 17. Lucas. Room for Lucas Hargreaves, I told the front desk the moment we arrived at the hotel. It wasn't what I expected, but it was a small town. I'm lucky that at least they have a decent hotel where we could put our things. I don't have any plans of extending another day here. I was planning to go back to Manila right after I finished my job here. Here you go, so the front desk officer said while handing me the key to our room. She was shamelessly batting her eyelashes at me. I almost growl inside in disgust. I really hate it when women flirt like this. I frowned when I looked at the room key that she was handing out. What is this? I told her, irritated. The key to your room, so she said. Gone is the flirtatious smile, and it was replaced by fright when she saw my grim face. It should be 2 rooms, I confusedly told her. But you only booked 1 suite room, so she frantically said. I slapped my forehead upon realizing what happened. Karen probably thought I would bring her during this trip, so she deliberately booked 1 room. I know that I made it clear to her that I'm not bringing her. I don't know what's going on inside her head. This is giving me a headache. Never mind, just give me another room for her. We don't have an extra room, sir. The earliest checkout would be tomorrow, she explained. I inhaled deeply upon hearing her. I can't believe this is really happening. We'll take it, I heard Gary butt in. I turned my face on her while frowning. What? It's not like we're going to stay here for long. We might not need to stay the night if we finished early, the thing that we came for, she explained when she saw me throwing her questioning looks. She has a point, but I'm just not comfortable staying inside a room with a woman I'm not going to fuck. Come on, let's go, she said, catching my attention. I didn't notice that she already got the key from my hand. I was shaking my head, then I followed her to the elevator. We didn't let any moment pass. We just left our belongings at the hotel before we went to the house of the Santoses. They are very prominent around the area, so we didn't have a hard time looking for their house. I keep shaking my head inside, imagining what would it be like if Gary would go here alone. She looks so naive and not really familiar with the place. The driver took us in front of a huge house. Every corner of the house speaks wealth. We were greeted by one of the maids. She made us wait for a moment to let her boss know about us before letting us in. We were led into the living room where the huge sofa set was located. Everything was monochromatic, from the couch up to the wall painting, from the furniture down to the floor. It speaks elegance and power. We were asked to be seated and wait for Mr. Alberto Santos, the head of the family and the one who supposedly illegally obtained the land from Gary's father. It took us a couple of minutes before he finally went down to see us. The man slowly went down the stairs, smiling at us with his beautiful wife beside him. I didn't sense any negative vibes from them. As a lawyer, I tend to read people's aura and gesture. By looking at their aura, I already know if they have something evil within them. Good morning, attorney. Lucas, he said when he finally came closer to us before laying his hand in front of us for a handshake. I can't believe it at first when one of my maids told me that the great Lucas Hargreaves is at my house. What can I do for you? I immediately accepted it as a sign of respect, but I saw Gary standing beside me, who kept on throwing daggers at the man. He frowned upon seeing Gary's face. He might really not have any idea who Gary is. Is this your girlfriend? I think she's in a bad mood. I'll let you know a thing or two from me on how to keep your woman happy, he jokingly says, his thick laughter engulfing the whole living room. Well, let me introduce to you my wife, Emily Santos, he said. She offered her hand for a handshake, and I immediately accepted. I saw Gary glare at me upon seeing what I did. I don't have any reason to be rude to them. They have been nothing but nice since we arrived. I shifted my gaze at her and widened my eyes to warn her to behave. I'll leave you here for a while. I'll bring you some refreshment. Anything in mind? She asked. Anything is fine, I answered, smiling at her. Actually, we're here to talk about the land you supposedly acquired illegally, I started, after Emily left. The smile on his face immediately vanished the moment I talked about the reason why we were here. What land? He asked, frowning. Come on, have a seat. The land owned by Felipe Montana, she immediately butt in. Alberto frowned for a moment, thinking about the name Gary was talking about. Oh, Felipe, yes, right. I remember him, he said, smiling again. What about him? he asked. I can read his face. He clearly has no idea what we're talking about. You tricked my father into giving his land to you. Gary can't hold herself anymore. She shouted in front of Alberto and Emily. I hold both of her arms from the back so I can stop her from hurting those two. It would have been difficult for us if Gary would attack them in their own house. They can sue us for that. I'm a great lawyer, but I'm not God. I can't make the impossible happen. What are you talking about, Hija? We obtained that land legally. I can even show you the deed of sale and the title, he said. It has your father's signature, he added. What? How is that possible? She's already confused about what's happening. Can we please see those documents? I asked him. Of course, I'll be happy to cooperate, he said before he stood up and went upstairs to his room. He's lying, Lucas, she whispered with vindication. Based on what? I asked her, being the logical one here. I just feel it, she insisted. You can't just accuse someone just because you feel it. That's why we're here, to check and confirm if they illegally obtained your father's land or not. I explained to her, trying to make her calm. You're believing him more than me, she accused me, acting as if I was the one at fault. I'm not the enemy here, Gary. I'm here to help you, so stop fighting with me, I told her, trying to knock some senses on her. I'm on your side, I added before reaching her hand and slowly squeezed it to make her feel that I got her back. After a few minutes, Alberto went down with a folder in his hand. He immediately handed it to me. I opened the folder to check what was in it. I found some papers with a contract, deed of sale, and the transfer of title. This is all legal, I uttered. Of course, it is all legal. On the contrary of what you're accusing us, we never tried to deceive anyone, he explained. I turned my gaze on Gary. The situation hasn't sunk in until now. Can you explain to us how you get the land from Felipe? I asked him, hoping she can enlighten things for Gary. I can see that she's finding it hard to accept what's happening. I remember Felipe went to me 17 years ago asking if he could borrow some money because her daughter was in the hospital that time due to dengue, he narrated. I'm a businessman, I don't lend money without collateral. That's why he offered to pawn his land for the meantime. But her daughter acquired some complications and she became critical, which requires a huge amount of money. He continued. That's why he decided to sell the land for good. As he finished talking, I heard Gary sobbing beside me. I'm sorry, Hija, if you think that I deceived your father, but that's not the kind of person I am. I paid your father the right amount for your land, he said, showing some sympathy towards Gary. I can sense the sincerity in his voice. He's not saying this just to look good. He really means it. How about the letter? She said in between sobbing. I picked up the letter that Gary was referring to. I looked at it again, and that's when I realized that Alberto is telling the truth. The letter was dated a few months before the contract and the transfer of title. Gary, I have to say, even if it breaks my heart, I can see it from her face. She looks like everything around her collapsed. She can't believe that it was happening. She continued sobbing, and we can't do anything about it. We just let her cry out her frustrations and disappointment. I let a few more minutes pass before I asked Gary to leave. She answered me with a nod while looking at a blank space. I say sorry for our unannounced visit, and they were very polite to say that it's okay. Gary had been very silent throughout our trip back to the hotel. She just keeps on staring at the window and hasn't uttered a word ever since we left the mansion of Santos's. Are you okay? I asked her to try to make a conversation, but she just answered me with a nod without throwing a glance at me. I'm not used to seeing her like this, but I don't know what to tell her or what to do to make her feel better. Are you sure? I asked her again. Just like before. She answered me with nothing but a nod. I let out a deep sigh. I'm not sure why I'm feeling bothered with her silence. Maybe I'm not used to not hearing her annoying voice. I decided to let her be alone for now. I leaned my head on the backrest so I could have a nap. I haven't had a decent sleep since yesterday. As I was about to close my eyes, I heard her say something. Thank you, she uttered. That's all I could answer since I'm starting to feel sleepy. I'll just send you the money once I get my salary, I heard her say again. Don't think about it for now. Just pay me whenever you can. No rush, I told her with my eyes closed. I heard her let out a deep sigh before going into silence again. I tried to open my eyes to check on her, but I was greeted by her beautiful brown eyes. I'm sorry for dragging you into this, she said with her soft and most alluring voice. I was mesmerized by her angelic face. I feel like I was greeted by an angel and I was already dead. If this was heaven, I'm more than willing to die now. Lucas, she said, bringing me back to my senses. Stop worrying about that now. You take some rest for now, I told her. Instead of complying, she flashed me her most dashing smile. And that very moment, I already know that I'm in trouble. Do you have to go back to Manila now? I heard her asking me again, still not trying to put a distance between us. But instead, she leaned towards me even more while smiling from ear to ear. I think so, I said, stuttering. Too bad. she said while pouting before moving back to her seat and slumping her back on the backrest. Why? Do you have something in mind? I asked her. Well, I just think since you already paid for the room for a night, why don't we just use that and enjoy our stay here, she said. She's back from her cheerful and annoying self again, which makes me feel relieved. I was thinking that she was going to take it hard until we got back to Manila. Oh well, I think I can spare a day, I told her. She immediately clapped her hands in excitement. I was shaking my head while trying to hide my smile upon seeing her like that. She's like a child sometimes. She will throw a tantrum for a minute, then she will be fine right after that. I can't believe that she can control me right around her fingers without knowing it. Chapter 18. Gary, I'm feeling down upon realizing that we went here for nothing. I even went to the extent of bringing this gorgeous man with me for the sake of nothing. I was really hoping that I could still make a hold on that land. That was the last thing that my father left me, or so I thought. I let out a deep sigh looking at the man beside me. We're now at the elevator going to our hotel. I can't believe he'd put up with all my shenanigans and never heard him complain a bit. He's not the selfish and self-centered man I thought he was. He's like an onion. Everything is a layer and you have to peel it one by one for you to see the smoothest layer. He's been silent since he got out of the car. I frowned upon looking at him. He seems uncomfortable. Maybe because he isn't used to sharing a room with a stranger. Are you okay? I asked him to check upon him. He nodded in confirmation. Thank you for coming with me and staying for a day. I know you're a very busy man. I didn't get to finish my sentence. He immediately went out of the elevator the minute it opened. I walked briskly so I could catch up with him. I take my words back. He's still rude. He remains quiet even after we're finally inside the room. I immediately went to the bed and slumped my back on the bed. I turned my face on him only to see him looking at me while frowning. It seems like he didn't like what I did with the bed. Wait, is he expecting me to take the couch? He seems unsettled since he got inside the room. I just shrugged my shoulder and went to the mini ref just beside the bed. I opened it and I found cans of beer and soda. I decided to get the beer. You want a beer? I asked him. I don't know what's got to him now. He seems okay when he was with me roaming the town. You're going to drink when you're with a man who's not your husband, your boyfriend, or not even your friend. How can you be so careless? He said with his escalating voice. I chuckled upon seeing his face bothered. Is that why you're being unsettled since we got here in the hotel? I take a sip of the cold beer before facing him again. Don't fret. If you're worried that I might take advantage of you while you're sleeping, I won't. I was smiling to myself upon realizing what's his reason for being frigid suddenly. I slumped my back on the couch and turned on the TV while drinking my beer. I heard the bathroom door opened. It seems that he had taken a shower. I would just take a shower after him. I finished the can of beer in no time. I immediately went to the refrigerator to get another one. I got back on the couch and browsed the channels while drinking my second beer when someone abruptly took the beer from my hand. Hey! I pouted my lips when I saw the newly showered Lucas. He pushed my legs that were on top of the center table so he could walk past it and slumped on the couch beside me. He's not even looking at me. His eyes are totally fixed on the TV while drinking the can of beer that he snatched from me. My eyes widened when I saw him wearing nothing but a bathrobe. I'm not sure if he is wearing something beneath that. I tried to act cool and not let him see how bothered I am by his presence. How can he act so cool now, sir? I walked back to the refrigerator with heavy feet to get another can of beer. I took 2 cans this time just in case he decided to get mine again. I found him sitting comfortably on the couch when I came back. He's so comfortable that both of his arms are spreading widely on the backrest of the couch while both of his legs are on top of the center table. I cleared my throat so he could give me some space. It would definitely be awkward if I sit beside him while his arms are spread widely. He turned his face on me while drinking his beer and he just cocked his head before turning back his head on the TV. I squinted my eyes at him even if he can't see me. You can't intimidate me, attorney, I told him before sitting down beside him, and moved tightly beside him until he moved away. I felt a short triumph when he finally moved away. We continued watching the TV. The movie Femme Fatale was playing. I remember when I was a child, I used to dream about being that kind of woman. Strong, independent, and deadly, I said, trying to create a conversation. I knew someone, he uttered. Really? Are you close to her? I asked him curiously about the woman and what role is he playing in Luca's life. Am I jealous? Of course not. Yes, we grew up together. Her family is our longtime client, and her parents used to bring her whenever they have a meeting, he stated. Oh, how does she look? I asked him, trying my best not to look too interested. I can see him using my peripheral view. He turned his body towards me, and he's watching me now. His elbow is leaning on the backrest, and his hand is on his cheeks, sitting comfortably while looking at me. I stiffen on my seat, but I tried to act cool and not bothered, though deep inside I was going to combust at any moment. She's tall, sexy, and beautiful. She would pass as a model actually, he said while staring at me, waiting for my reaction. I maintained my straight face and never dared to look at his way. I don't want to give him any hint that indeed I am jealous. She works as an agent in a security agency my friend owned. You want to see her? I heard him ask me abruptly, turned my face on his way. He was smirking when I saw his face. I rolled my eyes at him before crossing both of my arms in front of my chest and bringing back my eyes on the TV. Though I made sure that he would see that I'm not interested in seeing how she looks. He stood up and got his phone before going back to his seat. Here, take a look, he said while showing me his phone. I'm trying to hold myself and prevent me from looking at it, but my curiosity kills me. I slowly turned my head to look at his phone. I saw a picture of a beautiful woman with a pixie haircut. Not all women can handle that kind of haircut. She's only wearing a black spaghetti strap blouse and black pants partnered with combat boots, but her aura speaks of elegance. I can sense that she came from a well-off family. It's too late before I realize that I'm starting to compare myself to her. The romantic excitement that I'm feeling for Lucas a while ago slowly vanished. It was replaced by self-doubt and insecurities. He would never see me as a woman. She's pretty, I commented before putting my eyes back on the TV. I gulped the beer straight, and I can taste the bitterness of the alcohol. After finishing the can of beer, I quickly got the next can and opened it before drinking again. Whoa, slow down, cowgirl. No one's rushing you, he said when he noticed that I am drinking too much. I need to drink this to wash away all my feelings that are starting to blossom. I didn't mind him, and continued drinking my beer while my eyes were fixed on the TV. I heard him let out a loud sigh. Are you planning to get drunk? You should at least wait for me. I was stunned upon hearing that. Crap. My alcohol tolerance is not that high. Upon realizing that, my head started spinning. I tried to act normal so he wouldn't notice. I turned my face at him, and I saw him finish the can of beer in one gulp. He slammed the can on the table after he finished. Now, we're even. I'll get another one. Wait for me, he said before going to the refrigerator. Don't finish that yet, he even shouted. I can't help but chuckle upon seeing how playful he is right now. Gone is the cold, serious, and uptight Lucas. He came back with another can of beer. I think he already brought all the beers in the refrigerator. No cheating, he warned me when he saw me almost finishing my second beer. Okay. I chuckled while raising both of my hands. I waited for him to open his beer. He sat down beside me and said that this time there's no more space between us. Our skin is touching each other. It's maybe the alcohol that causes me to be this bold. I don't feel awkward anymore with our bodies so close like this. My body is starting to heat up. It's maybe the alcohol or something else. I don't know. The movie is about to finish, and our drinks are almost empty, but no one dares to speak. I cleared my throat before talking. I think we're done, I announced when the movie that we're watching finally ended. Are you sleepy now? I heard him asked with his sexist voice. His question seems innocent, but his voice looks inviting, seducing, and tempting. I gulped upon feeling the unusual heat on my body. Not really, I answered, though my eyes are starting to get heavy. What do you want to do next? I don't know. What do you suggest? I was now sitting sideways, facing him while he's doing the same. We are now looking at each other with the same position. Both of our elbows are leaning on the backrest, and our hand is supporting our head. I know what I want to do, Gary. I just don't know if that's what you'd like too, he said while slowly leaning towards me. What is it? I asked him, trying to make some sense of what's going to happen. I'm not going to tell you, Gary. Not until you tell me first, he said while staring intently into my eyes. His gaze is full of lust and passion. I can sense the intense heat from his eyes, and it sent shivers down to my spine. My eyes went down to his luscious lips that were slightly red due to his frequent lip biting. God knows how much I wanted to bite those lips myself. My eyes went back to his dark green eyes. What now, Gar? I didn't let him finish his word. I abruptly claimed his lips and kissed him torridly. He was shocked for a minute. He wasn't expecting to my sudden aggressiveness, but he eventually responded to my kiss. He opened my mouth using his tongue and snaked it inside. His tongue was intrusive and invasive, as if it was searching for something that was hidden in the deepest part of my mouth. I moaned against his mouth when he lifted me up from my seat and put me on his lap effortlessly. I was straddling him now while our lips are still intertwined. The feeling of his growing bulge rubbing against the center of my femininity brings so many sensations throughout my body. How I moaned again when I felt his hand slowly travel from my legs up to my breast. He slowly massages it while his other hand is on my nape, pulling me closer to him so he can deepen our kiss. Tell me, I heard him say, but I immediately cut him off by claiming his lips again. Gary, I never give him a chance to say something. I don't want to hear anything that will make me change my mind and bring me back to my senses. Wait. He raised his voice while chuckling so he could catch my attention. He was smiling widely, so I know that he raised his voice not because he's mad, but because he wants to catch my attention. What? I snapped at him, crossing both of my arms in front of my chest, and pouting my lips. I don't make an effort to hide how disappointed I am that he cut off our kiss. We're not stopping, don't worry, he said before planting a soft kiss on my lips. I just need to know that you're in your right mind before we continue doing this, he added before kissing me again. I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth of his lips. I am finding the courage to move away from him and not continue what we started, but I know that it was impossible. Now that I already tasted the sweetness of his lips and the warmth of his embrace, there's no turning back. I want you, Lucas, I told him. Are you not going to say tomorrow that everything that happened tonight was a mistake? He said while planting soft kisses in between. I chuckled. You're watching too many romantic movies, Lucas, I told him while smiling from ear to ear. I can't believe how happy I am. I'm supposed to be devastated upon knowing about the land that my father cherishes the most, but I'm not. My heart is full of happiness and joy because of this man. I want to hear your answer, Gary, he added. I won't. I will not tell you that what happened tonight was a mistake, I answered him before planting a small kiss on his lips. Now that I have your full consent, let's go to bed so I can ravage you. He effortlessly lifted me and brought me to the bed while claiming my lips. Chapter 19. SPG Matured Content. Gary, he slowly lay me down on the bed while our lips are still locked. My eyes are heavy but I can see him clearly. It was as if he was afraid that I would vanish if he removed his eyes on me even just for a second. He removed his bathrobe, and he was left with nothing but his boxers on. He lay down on top of me and claimed my lips. His lips started to travel down my neck while his hands were now exploring every inch of my body. His hand slowly glided from my waist up to my breast. I moaned against his lips when he started massaging it hard. My body started trembling in excitement. I was anticipating his every touch. All of these experiences are new to me. I have never been kissed like this at the age of 22. I had my fair share of relationships before, but now my body is mentally turned on and excited to see Luca's body. It was as if my body was made for him, and it was designed to react only to him. His lips that were on my neck started to go down the valley of my breast. He started opening up the button of my shirt, slowly revealing my breast inch by inch. I can feel his hand going around my back. I was thinking what his hand was about to do when I heard a light click on my back. He unhooked my bra with just one swift. I opened my eyes and looked at him. His face was still buried on my chest. He can sense that I am glaring at him. He lifted his head and looked me straight in the eyes. I squinted my eyes on him so he would know what I'm thinking right now. Aren't you too expert in unhooking a bra? I told him, not removing my glaring eyes on him. He chuckled before moving his face closer to me. He planted 3 small kisses, which makes me frown even more. I have my fair share of experience with women, and I admit it was a lot. So please, pardon me if I may be too experienced for you, he teased. Sir, I hate you, that's all I can say. I don't know why I suddenly felt that he had done me wrong. Well, in fact, he's right. I can't be mad at him for being too experienced. He's a fine-looking young man with a lot of oozing sex appeal, so he would be lying if he said that he has no experience at all. I pouted my lips because I can't think of a valid reason why I'm being mad at him. You don't mind that, do you? He said, chuckling while softly caressing my cheeks. What if I do? I challenged him. If you do, I won't get to do this. He then planted a soft kiss on my forehead, cheeks, and finally on my lips. Knowing you, you'd probably kick my ass right now or I'm already in jail, he said while smiling. I rolled my eyes at him while smiling. He's right. How can I hate him if my body is aching for his touch, and I was craving for his kisses? Are you still mad at me? He said while flashing his $1,000,000 smile. Then what should we do next? He keeps on teasing me. You decide. I suddenly felt nervous looking at his eyes that's full of lust. The playful smile on his face is long gone now. No, love, I want to hear it from you. I want you to tell me what you want, he said, not leaving my eyes. I want you. I stuttered. I need you to be more specific, love. I don't know, I shyly answered. I don't really know what I want since I don't have any experience when it comes to this. A smile is slowly creeping into his mouth. So, you don't have any experience? He asked. I shyly turned my eyes away, ashamed that I'm still naive when it comes to this kind of thing. Why? Is it a bad thing? I was annoyed by his remarks. I'm trying to mask my nervousness by acting tough. No, it isn't, he said while slowly taking all the spaces between our faces. I'd be glad to teach you everything, he whispered on my lips before finally claiming it again. I moaned against his lips when I felt his sudden aggressiveness. Something changed about his kiss. I can sense his hunger. I gasped when I felt his hand landed on top of my femininity. He took that opportunity to fully claim my lips and snake his tongue inside it. I wrapped my arms around his neck when his kisses are sucking all the energy in my body. I shamelessly rubbing my pussy against his hand because I wasn't satisfied. I wanted more. I never wanted this much in my entire life. I wanted to protest when he removed his hand from my pussy. I even growled when he stopped kissing me. My sexual frustration is going bigger and bigger every moment past. Patience, love, he said when he saw my disappointment. His head is now starting to travel down my navel. I closed my eyes to savor the feeling of his lips against my skin. He started removing my jeans, and he didn't leave anything. I suddenly felt cold when the breeze of the air conditioner touched my naked body, but it was immediately replaced when I felt his tongue teases my clit. Fuck. I can't help but curse. I was startled by the unknown feeling that I felt when his tongue touched my center. I almost pushed his head back, away from my pussy, but he quickly grabbed my arm and pinned it to my side. He started playing my pussy with his tongue, and I can't do anything but throw my head side by side. I keep on biting my lower lip to prevent myself from making any sound. I keep on moving my hips so I can move away from his tongue. He released my hand before putting both of his arms on my thighs so he could hold me in place. I quickly put both of my hands on my mouth to keep myself from screaming when I felt his tongue went inside me. He slightly bit my clit, sends thousands of bolts of electricity throughout my body. He keeps on licking my center non-stop. OHH, fuck. I can't help but shout when I felt something building up on my pussy. I can't explain what I'm feeling. I just started grabbing his head and pressed it against my pussy even more. I was shamelessly grinding my hips against his mouth just to satisfy my cravings. I'm starting to feel my orgasm as he continues to lick it. I lifted my hips as I reached my climax. He didn't let me get away from him. He firmly holds my waist and continued licking me. I was having my orgasm. He never let my cum go into waste. My eyes were closed and I was catching my breath. I felt his lips slowly planting kisses on my stomach, to the valley of my breast. Then finally my lips. I slowly opened my eyes. I was greeted by his dark brooding eyes and my body started to heat up again. I would love to watch you come all over again. I'd love that too, I said, smiling and feeling satisfied. Then let's proceed to the main event, he teased. He removed the remaining cloth in his body, and his cock sprung out of his boxer. I gasped when I saw how huge he was. I gulped upon thinking his cock entering my body. I'll be wrecked for sure. Its head is as big as a mushroom, and let's not forget the body. It was as big as an infant's arm. He threw his boxers on the floor before going back on top of me. Are you ready? He asked. How should I know if I'm ready? I innocently asked. He chuckled upon realizing how innocent my question was. I pouted and hit his chest while laughing at me. I bit my lips when I felt the head of his cock brushing against my entrance. I pressed my eyes hard when I felt him slowly going inside my entrance. I hugged him close, hoping that it would ease the pain. I dug my teeth and nails against his skin while he's slowly thrusting inside me. I feel like my inside was ripped open. He started sucking my neck, which surprisingly helps in easing the pain that I'm feeling right now. His lips moved to mine while his cock is slowly sliding inside me. I was biting my lower lip the whole time. He cleaned my lips and opened my mouth using his tongue before forcing it inside. I kissed him torridly, trying to shift my attention from my swollen pussy to his intruding lips. He stopped when his cock is now fully inside me. Does it hurt? He asked after lifting his head to look at me. What do you think? I scoffed at him. He chuckled. I'm sorry. I'll try my best to ease the pain, he said while smiling. Why don't you just remove your gigantic cock inside so the pain will go away? I rolled my eyes at him. Not a chance, love. Now that I already experienced the heaven of bearing myself inside you, I'll never let you go, he said sweetly. I was trying hard not to give anything away, but deep inside my heart is jumping in joy. I can't believe that I'm hearing those words from this gorgeous man. Flirt, I hissed at him. Since when? I don't believe you. I can't believe we're talking about it now while he's buried deep inside me. Since I claimed your luscious lips, and I buried my cock inside you, he said, looking directly into my eyes. The heat that was lost because of the pain is starting to engulf my whole existence again. I'm moving now, he warned me. I nodded in confirmation. He started moving. I can feel his length inside me grinding into my core. I can feel the pain starting to go away with his every thrust, and a tingling sensation is starting to build inside me. His every thrust is making me whimper and writhe in pleasure. I suddenly felt hungry for more. I wanted more. Say it again, he teased while moving slowly inside me. I hesitated for a while. I was ashamed to be this needy, but that doesn't stop me from pleading to him. Faster, pleased, I pleaded. And with that, he started increasing his phase while thrusting inside me. I anchored my legs on his waist as he continued burying his shaft into my pussy. I screamed in pleasure as I almost taste my orgasm. So fucking tight. Oh yes. Fuck. I can't help but moan in pleasure. I was welcoming his every thrust with the same intensity. He pushed himself up and settled himself in between. He grabbed my legs and put it on top of his shoulder before thrusting relentlessly. I turned sideways and buried my face on the pillow to suppress my scream. My body is burning in desire and I was craving for more. He never stops moving in and out of my pussy, and I can feel his length touching my core. The room was filled with moans and grunts. The pain is long gone now. I feel nothing but pleasure and passion. He put down my legs and abruptly leaned towards me before torridly kissed me. I answered his kisses with the same hunger as he continues to fuck me. "You're mine now, Gary," he said, catching his breath. "Oh yes. That's so good," I moaned. "You like that? You like my cock ravishing your pussy?" His dirty talking added desire into my body. I used to think that dirty talking is not cool, but I think I changed my mind. "Yes, fuck me more. Harder," I begged him. I pleaded him as I starting to feel the orgasm building up inside me. I was about to explode at any minute. I can't help but scream when he suddenly plays with my clit. That added more to the pleasure that I am having right now. "Come for me, love," he whispered in my ear. As if on cue, I reached my second orgasm while he continued to thrust his big shaft inside my core. The pleasure was too much. I just had an orgasm, but he continues to thrust inside me and play with my clit. His thrust didn't stop even though I already reached my climax. His phase adds up even more. His thrusting starting going faster and faster, and I screamed again when I felt another orgasm coming. "I'm coming," he moaned loudly. I reached my third climax as he keeps on squirting his juices inside me. I think I lost all my energy. I keep my eyes closed. I don't think I still have the energy to open my eyes. I heard him chuckled when he lifted his head. I felt him standing up and heard him go to the bathroom. Maybe he's taking a shower. I'll take a shower after 10 minutes. I'm sore. It wasn't long before I felt Lucas went back to bed. I felt a wet warm towel wiping to my pussy. I slowly opened my eyes and I saw Lucas cleaning up my center using a warm towel. "Take some rest. I'll take care of you," he sweetly told me. That's the last thing I heard from him before I dozed off to sleep. Chapter 20. "Hey, my lovely wife," I heard Lucas say. That puts me back to my senses. I can't still believe how fast things happened. After our first wonderful night in the hotel, Lucas never let me out of his sight. He insisted that I should resign from my work and live with him, which I did. I love him so much that I could leave everything behind just to be with him. We just got back from London where we got married. I'm shaking my head while looking at the ring in my hand and thinking about how fast everything right into my eyes. The next thing I knew is that I was with Lucas in London because he didn't want to leave me in the Philippines for a month. I met his wonderful grandmother who serves as our witness during our wedding. "Aren't we going a little too fast?" I asked him. We are now in the car going to his house. His parents will be there and will stay there for a couple of months, so they can spend time with me. This will be the first time that I will be meeting his parents. I know, it seems odd that we already got married before I met his parents, but everything happened so fast. Are you having cold feet? May I remind you, Gary, we're married now. There's no turning back, he said while frowning. I rolled my eyes at him and chuckled. Aren't I a little late for having cold feet? Then why are you suddenly asking those questions? I just want to be sure that we aren't making harsh decisions that we might end up regretting. I told him, not looking at his eyes. I can't hold myself looking at his eyes while saying those words. He softly grabbed my chin and made me look him in the eyes. I won't regret anything, especially marrying you. That's the best decision I made in my entire life. I love you the first time I laid my eyes on you, he said with too much love and passion in his eyes. I feel like I'm dreaming. I can't believe that this gorgeous man is mine. He's my husband, and I should be proud of it. I love you too, Lucas, I told him before planting a soft kiss on his lips. An innocent kiss immediately becomes carnal. It suddenly became needy and hungry. His hand is now starting to roam around my body. Lucas, I called him in between kisses. He answered me with a moan. I needed to stop him or else we will be having sex inside his car. Stop. We're in the car. I tried to tell him while moving my face away from him. And he asked me when he finally stopped kissing me. Get a hold of yourself. There's another person in the car. I insisted. So, you think I would let anyone hear my wife moan and scream in pleasure? He said. That makes me frown. It took me a couple of minutes to realize what he was talking about. The space between the driver's seat and the back seat started to close. This is soundproof and the glasses are heavily tinted, he said while kissing my neck. Nana has been selfish and kept you all by herself when we were in London. I missed you, he said as he continued kissing my neck. His lips are now starting to travel down the valley of my breast while his hand is going inside my skirt. He held the hem of my underwear and slowly pulled it down. He started pulling up my shirt and devoured my breast the minute he removed my bra. I wanted to resist, but I will just be fooling myself if I say that I didn't want this. I closed my eyes and let go of all my hesitations. I let him do whatever he desires. He started to go down and settled himself in between my legs. He quickly dived into the center of my femininity and ravished it with his tongue. I immediately put my hand on my mouth to prevent myself from screaming in too much pleasure. My eyes widened when he suddenly grabbed my hand that was covering my mouth. "Don't hold yourself. I want to hear your screams," he told me while looking directly into my eyes. He put back his head in between my legs and started to play my clit with his tongue. Fuck. I screamed in too much pleasure. "Yes, lick me more," I shamelessly demanded. He let go of my other hand, and I grabbed the seat tightly. His hand is massaging my breast while his other hand is starting to travel down to my pussy. It finally settled in the center of my entrance. He continued lapping my pussy as he slowly eases his finger inside me. "Shit." I moaned loudly when I feel his finger thrusting in and out of my cunt. I think I'm going to lose my mind at any moment. His expert tongue is not slowing down anytime soon. He licked my pussy up and down while occasionally biting my clit that almost makes me go crazy. I can almost taste my orgasm. He removed his finger inside, and he replaced it with his hard tongue. I can feel his warm tongue grinding against my inner core. I shamelessly grabbed his head, and pressed my hips on his mouth even harder. "I'm near. I can almost taste the sweet taste of my orgasm." That was my last moan before I reached the peak of my climax. I was catching my breath when I saw him slowly go up and claimed my lips. I welcomed him with the same intensity. I can taste myself in his mouth. I got my shirt and wiped his mouth. "That was wonderful." That's all I can tell him after giving me that mind-blowing orgasm. "I'm glad to be at your service, madam, but we're not finished yet," he said before removing his belt and putting down his pants. He went back to his seat and gestured to me to sit on his lap. He stopped me when I was about to straddle him. "Turn around," he said with his husky voice. I was frowning but I willingly obeyed. I turned my back on him before sitting on his lap doing a reverse cowgirl. I can feel the warmth of his breath against my nape. That makes me lean back onto him. Both of his hands snaked in front of me and gently massaged my breast. He lightly pinched my crown that was rewarded by my loud moan. My legs are spread wide, and his legs were in between mine. His other hand started to travel down to my center and gently massage it. I turned my face on him and grabbed his nape so I could fully claim his lips. I torridly kissed his mouth while savoring the pleasure that he was giving me. He lifted me a little and positioned himself through my entrance. He slowly eases himself inside me and my mouth forms a big O as he slowly invades my core. He started pumping in and out of my pussy, slowly grinding into my deepest part of my being. I grabbed his hand that was on my breast and put it in my mouth. I heard him groan when I started sucking his finger while his cock is easing in and out of me. "So fucking tight. I miss being buried inside you," he whispered in my ear while I was leaning my head back on his shoulder. Moans are the only answers I can give to him. I can feel his whole cock filling me inside. His thick and long shaft is going in and out of my wet pussy. My clit is throbbing with too much sensitivity, and his hand that was continuously massaging it is adding arousal into my being. I can almost taste another orgasm. I was about to burst at any moment. "Hold on tight, love," he whispered again before putting both of his hands on my waist. I grabbed the roof of the car while my other hand was leaning on the door, trying to get hold of myself. He started to increase his phase. He's now pumping me faster and faster. My eyes rolled at the back of my head because of a wild sensation that was invading my whole system. The car was filled with nothing but loud moans and screams of carnal desire. I can believe that I'm having sex with my husband inside a car in a broad daylight. "I love you," he softly whispers against my ear while he keeps on thrusting inside me. "I love you." Ooh, fuck. I haven't finished my response because he buried his cock deeply inside me. I'm already losing my mind. My husband is insatiable and I don't know how I can keep up with him. He gently bit my shoulder and the pain added an unknown sensation to my core. I'm already feeling my orgasm building up on my belly. I can feel that I was about to burst at any moment. "I'm coming," I heard him say, as if on cue. I reached my climax as he was bursting his seeds inside me. I can feel his warmth come filling me inside. "I can't believe you fucked me before introducing me to your parents," I jokingly told him while catching my breath. My eyes are closed while my face is buried on his neck. We still didn't move an inch. I was still on top of him while his cock is inside my pussy. "Language, my dear. You're so obscene," he chuckled. I quickly raised my head and glared at him. I squinted my eyes on him and pressed my pointer finger on his cheek. "Really, attorney? Me, obscene? You are not allowed to fuck me from now on," I threatened him. I was only joking but I think he takes it seriously. He frowned and he was making a straight face. "You can never deprive me of what's mine, Mrs. Hargreaves," he said with a dark face. He then started thrusting his cock that was still inside me. "Lucas." My eyes widened the moment I felt his cock is starting to get hard again. "That's your effect on me, my wife. So never try to deprive me of what's mine," he whispered while he continued to go in and out of my core. "We're almost there, Lucas. Stop." I wasn't actually sure if I wanted him to stop or to continue. "Yes, my dear." we're almost there. He continued thrusting faster while continuously massaging my clit and breast. It didn't take long before we both reached our climax again. We were both catching our breath when I heard the driver speak from the intercom. "We are shortly arriving at your house, sir. Come on, love. Let's fix ourselves," he said, quickly grabbing the wet wipes that were inside the side door compartment of the car. He handed it to me before lifting me lightly so I could move and sit beside him. I immediately put the wipes in between my legs to wipe all the juices that were coming out of my pussy. I saw him do the same. He cleaned himself before putting on his pants. After I finished cleaning myself, I quickly fix my skirt and my shirt. I pick up my mirror in my bag and check myself. "You're already beautiful. They will love you for sure," I heard him say. I can't help but feel nervous about meeting his parents for the first time. Though the mind-blowing sex helps a lot in calming my nerves, I just want to show them that I'm fit enough to be Lucas' wife. I may not have money or power, but I hope that my love for Lucas will be enough for them to like me for their son. I felt the car stopped. Lucas pressed a button and the wall that was dividing us from the driver's seat started to open. Lucas opened the door and went out of the car. He gestured to me to wait for him, and I did. He walked around the car and went on my side before opening the door for me. "Welcome home, Mrs. Hargreaves." He welcomed me before planting a soft kiss on my lips.